His name is Frank. First off, Frank, like, why?
Funke changed it for me. Let's put it that way. She changed it for me.
My mom, when Frank comes into the room, she will just, hello, and
Yeah.
just walk away. Hi,
Hi everyone.
everyone.
I'm Frank,
I'm Funke.
and we are back again.
Yes, welcome back.
Yeah. So this time we'll be talking about something quite exciting to both of us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about how we met. How
Oh.
Funke and I met many years ago, almost 20 years ago, actually.
Start from the very beginning.
Yeah, the very beginning. We met at the University of Lagos, where I was studying economics, and Funke was studying law at the
Law,
time.
yes.
Um, we had no classes together, so there was no way for us to have met. We were pretty much in the same area of school. It used to be called up school back then. We were pretty much around the same area, but I don't think we had any mutual friends. We couldn't have met in any way.
Yeah.
But God brought us together in the place of fellowship. So there was this amazing fellowship, and if you know the fellowship, give us a thumbs up. Sovereign Army Fellowship in Unilag back then, University of Lagos.
Go staff.
Yeah, it was an amazing fellowship. So Funke used to be in the welfare department. Some year later, I don't know how long later. Anyway, I joined, and I remember I joined with a couple of friends back then. This was in 2006. I joined the Sovereign Army Fellowship, and that was where I met Funke for the very first time. I had nothing in mind. I just came to worship God and serve within the welfare department. And that was it. I don't know. What do you remember it differently?
Well, yeah, it was quite the same. I was in the fellowship, like he mentioned, and then he joined with with two of his other friends.
Yeah.
And at that point, you do have a lot of guys in the department. Yeah,
I think we did. I remember at least,
yeah,
I can think of at least two,
we
three other
did.
guys.
But definitely three of them joining together, it was noticed, right?
Yeah. Because for some reason the welfare department was mainly ladies.
Yeah.
Because what we'll do is welcome the first timers. We'd have to create some form of refreshments for them.
Yeah.
We'll put up decoration and tear it down after fellowship. So it was something a bit more for people that are more creative. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. And so, long story short, we joined. Funke and I always had to go pick up decorative materials and things like that. I think that was where our bonding kind of started out from.
Yeah, and I think at the time, good thing you had a car, so it kind of made it easy. And what you were putting your hands up a lot to assist, and the department started saying that, this brother, this kindness.
I kind of feel like I know the people that
was it like, is it just being kind, or is there more to it? I'm like, everybody, that's how we all are. We're all always ready to help, always ready to serve. So I didn't think it was anything, right? And of course, I wasn't even looking to date at that time, primarily because we were in the fellowship where they had mentioned that the workers, ideally that we should not be in relationships, right? I mean, not everybody followed through. So it's not like before some people, I'm sure the Gen Zs are like, what? How dare, But yeah, it was just, an ideal situation.
Yeah.
So I was looking to adhere to that. And also, I don't know. And of course, Frank, as you might have guessed, is Igbo and I'm Yoruba. So intertribal relationships were not even on my radar at all at the time.
But you know what they say about man proposes and God disposes. We never know what God has planned for us. And truly, I remember that Sovereign Army at the time, we were prohibited is not the word, but we were strongly advised against dating, and I think it made sense. Quite honestly, and that's a different topic for that day. But personally, I thought it made sense. And personally as well, I know at the time I couldn't have combined dating or being in a relationship with my academics. Quite honestly, yes, the academics I was struggling to keep it up. Adding dating to it, but anyway, that's a different conversation for a different time. But yes, that was how we met in Sovereign Army Fellowship. Quite honestly, as I think back at it, I wasn't looking to date at the time. But one thing I know for sure is I had a soft spot for Funke. So she would ask for things, and I'll say, I couldn't say no. So she would be like, "Oh, Frank, we need to go pick up some stuff from Ozolua, which was where we stored our things back then." And I'll be like, "Okay, I have a class for 3 o'clock. After my class, I'll come pick you up. Where will you be and stuff?" At some point, I think it kind of evolved. I started enjoying the company. We would go pick up. It wasn't, and she became the head of department, by the way. At a later time, shortly after I joined, she became the head of department, and I just loved her leadership style. Loved how she always took us through the word and how she always kind of managed things. A few years later, we both left school.
Before we left school,
Yeah.
even like you said, there were times when we would just sit, talk
Yes.
for hours, like talking about our lives after school,
Yeah.
what our plans
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
what our visions.
At some point, we started reading together, by the way. We would go to the library together and claim we were reading.
I was reading, I don't know
Yeah.
about you. Law. Is it easy to study law?
Oh, boy.
I was
Yeah.
focused.
So we're claiming to be reading, but yes, we're always. I don't know how we sat side by side and claimed to read, but I think at some point we actually did read. One of my very good friends, still an amazing friend to date. I think I told him or something. He should got wind of it because both of us were in department together. We would go to the welfare meetings together. I know at some point he either came to I think you went to ask him about certain things, and this was, by the way, our final year in school. We're already about to leave. So Funke kind of knew, I think towards the end of our stay in school, and just important to mention, both of us started having conversations that we knew this was going to be a possibility for us after school. So it became an issue of, should we even consider this? Should we not consider this? We became so close that I think at some point you gave me, I was holding your laptop and things like that. I remember.
And then it's like, this angel
So here's what happened. I don't know why I got Funke's laptop. I think I had to do something, and she had just gotten a brand new laptop. I took her laptop, and then
it was very familiar.
I tried to update something, and I wiped off stuff. Anyway, we'll talk about that one that time. And Funke changed it for me. Let's put it that way. She changed it for me. But yeah, I think at that point, it was our final year in school. We knew that it was a reality, and okay.
Well, we didn't know that it was. Well, we knew that.
I think we knew.
Yeah, but I still had those reservations for sure.
Which is why you had to talk to my friend.
No, your friend came to talk to me. He
Yes.
came to talk to me that, like, I'm sure that by now that you know that Frank is interested and like, what are you thinking? And I was like,
And he's a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very cool guy. So it was absolutely okay for him to have that conversation.
And I was like, nope, I'm not sure. Not like nope, but I was just like, I'm not sure that it would work. Like my parents, my family. All the fears that one has with the tribal marriages. So I'm like, no, I'm not sure this can work. I just want things to be easy. I don't like stress in my life. Like, I'm a very easygoing person.
And just for those that don't know as well, so the Igbos are from the eastern part of Nigeria, the Yorubas are from the west. So Lagos will technically be called a Yoruba state. I was born and bred in Lagos, meaning that most of my relationships, most of my upbringing happened within a Yoruba setting. So to say, so I'm pretty comfortable with the culture. But again, and maybe I should just mention this. If you know anything about Nigerian Nollywood scene, most of it started out from an Igbo setting perspective. So we kind of told stories about Igbos that, in my opinion, looking back, I think we probably scared a lot of non-Igbos with some of the things that were depicted. Because Funke asked me some funny questions that, if you died, would I be made to cut my hair? Would I be made to do... I'm like, we have our customs and our traditions, but some of those things are not exactly as they are. Some of them have evolved over time as well. So you have nothing to worry about. But I personally had no issues with it. In fact, I think I always suspected that I was going to marry a Yoruba person, because if I think about all the people I was really close friends with, most of them were Yoruba. So chances were higher that I would end up with a Yoruba person as my wife.
Me, on the other hand, I didn't even think, Igbo or any other tribe aside Yoruba. And I always laugh that I remember, the way most of us girls would just write our list and pray to God and have the list with us. And interestingly, all the characteristics I wrote that I wanted from my life partner, Frank had them all. And it's funny enough, I did not put tribe because I just didn't consider it, right? So I always joke that God does have a sense of humor, because he ticked all my boxes. Like, he didn't tell me that you wanted
minus
you did well. That's because God sees all of us as one. We are all one under God, right? So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. So after we left school, 2008, I believe we left school 4th of August 2008. By 28th of August, I officially asked Funke out, and of
Aww.
course, I think at that point I already knew the answer, but just had to, we have to go through the routine of asking out, and then we became what they call it, an item. Is that what they call it? Whatever.
Item.
The shop became something. We became
Not an item.
we became
I'm a feminist.
the shop became something.
Yeah, we became boyfriend and girlfriend,
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde.
It was a term that I was very uncomfortable with.
Why?
I don't know. The idea of boyfriend, girlfriend always sounded funny. But anyway, we shall start dating October 28th of 2008.
Yeah. Okay, so I told my sister.
Do you remember your first birthday after we dated?
Was that the one in law school?
Yeah, you're in law school.
Yeah.
I went to go and borrow money, by the way, guys. So Funke was in law school. It was the first birthday as boyfriend and girlfriend, and the pressure was high.
Who put the pressure on
I
you?
had to start working. I hadn't even gone to NYSC back then. So NYSC is a compulsory service that we have to do after school. I hadn't started doing that. This was March. I didn't go to NYSC until I believe May, and I started working in April, thankfully.
But you see, it's because of the blessing, the fertile ground.
Thank the Lord. I stood on good ground.
I've seen a blessing to you.
I remember I borrowed money then. Got her a Nokia music. I think that's what that
Express music.
Nokia Express music, that white and red one that slides. Got some money to her friend to get cake, get drinks. I'm sure they're looking at me and thinking, big boy. 1 naira did not go my pocket. But thank God for my sister who gave me. At that time, it was a substantial amount. And funny enough, I can still remember how much it was.
I don't want to say it.
And I was a good amount of money back then. Yeah, but that was our first birthday with us dating.
And that's how part of the things that Frank just knows how to blow my mind.
Even if it means with Gabor.
God forbid, you don't do that anymore, please. But yeah, I told my sisters first, and of course they had the questions of, oh, are you sure? Like, do you really know him? Like, do you guys share this? The standard questions that sisters would ask, right? And I'm like, yeah, this person is everything I've ever wanted. He's kind, he's thoughtful, he has the fear of God, he looks out for me, he always has my best interest, and for me as well, I cannot just imagine my life without him. He's my friend, like somebody that you just feel comfortable talking to. Like there was nothing I couldn't share with him, right? So I just knew that I wanted this person in my corner. This person would be a life partner for me.
Well, apart from tribe, was there any other thing you were scared of?
Yeah.
Well. I almost feel like you want to.
Today we're talking about our intertribal love story.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the other
things
later days.
Okay.
But yeah, that was like the major thing, right? So then there was my siblings, my sisters, my brother. They were all great with it.
Is your brother involved?
Yeah, of course. I mentioned it around at some point. Yeah. And then it was now to tell my folks. I'm not sure. I think I told my mom first. I had to tell her because I know that at some point we had gone together for her friend's daughter's wedding, who had gotten married to somebody that was not Yoruba. After the wedding, typical as parents and kids, we just gist or how was the wedding and everything. And I was like, mommy, you don't even worry. You don't have anything to worry about. Me, Yoruba. That was even before I met Frank, right? So when I went to my mom to tell her that, okay, yeah, there was somebody, his name is Frank. First off, Frank, like, why? Anyway, his name is Frank. That name, sometimes I still used to question that. How would somebody just name a child Frank? Frank, yeah. It kind of depicts who you are, yeah. Frank.
Eventually.
Anyways, okay, so yeah, she was like, but I thought you said that you could not marry a non-Yoruba person. I'm like,
this conversation you had gist with her, she actually she recorded it somewhere in her head. And I'm sure she'd have been happy when you were saying it.
Exactly. She was like, I thought you said. I'm like, well, I thought so, but man proposes, God disposes. God had better plans for me. And then my dad, of course, he will, ask the usual questions as well. And when I brought him to the house to meet them, my mom, when Frank comes into the room, she will just hello and just walk away. My dad will sit down, ask him questions. How are you? What do you do? Where's your family from? All those typical standard.
And he always told me about his friend that was into media. He had an Igbo friend that was into media. So I think that kind of helped. So, do you know this man? He's my friend. He
like all Igbos.
Like we're a small house. We don't know ourselves. And I always wrote on it. I'm like, okay, that name sounds familiar. Okay, that's good.
Better claim. It's my uncle.
Anything I could claim at that point was to my advantage. I was claiming it. But yeah, it was. I remember to Funke's point. Each time I walked into the house, usually, most times I met Funke's mom on either the dining table or in the sitting room. And once I greeted her, she said, "Oh, how are you?" And then she stands up and leaves. Usually, she was never mean in that sense, but you could tell that
dismissive.
She wasn't even dismissive, but she was just avoiding the conversation. She just wanted me to feel like, what, visitor, and I have not called you anything more than that yet. But over time, it quickly changed.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tipping point was, but I think at some point, as we continued to, as they saw my face more often,
and I think
I think it also helped when I got a job. So I was very lucky.
What do you mean by that?
No, I think so. I think they began to see me as responsible. That's the point. So I got a job before I went for NYSC service, which is very unusual. Usually you finish NYSC and then get a job. I got a full-time job before I started serving. So I think for them, they just feel like, okay, this guy's already working. Okay, that's
he can take
hopefully he's doing something reasonable with his life, and they probably got more comfortable at that point. Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, and I think as well, what I was trying to remember was that my mom, of course, we are very close in family. My mom is close to her siblings as well. And so I think, she must have told all of them, like, okay, look at what Funke is bringing. And,
as in really what Funke is bringing.
We're very close in family. So she was... We are very close in family, so I'm sure she must have told them that, look, Frank is, there's a Franco, Funke has brought Franco.
Yeah.
And I think all of them were just from of the same mindset of, okay, like, get to know him. She really, Funke is responsible, so for her to have said that this is the person that she wants to be with, that there must be something about him, let's give him a chance, right? So I don't think that she really found anybody in her corner to really accept maybe one person.
Maybe
I think that one person, yes, was like joking.
Yeah. I think maybe it also helped that I had met the Funke's cousins. So every of the mom's sister and even the dad's brothers, I had met them because we went for a beach party the year before, the year we started dating. And everybody was cool. Everybody was really nice. So if it ever came up that Funke was dating an Igbo boy, I'm sure they would have spoken positively, hopefully. And that would have helped the conversation with their parents.
Yeah.
But if I think about my end, my parents had absolutely no issues with it. My mom we never discussed it. My dad never discussed it. I think our own family setup is a bit different. So we are, I don't know if I'll say we are kind of not that much in each other's spaces. The only two people I would have talked about it with would have been my immediate elder brother and my immediate elder sister. We are a much larger family than Funke's family, by the way. So we didn't talk that much about it. And my brother at the time was dating a Yoruba girl as well. So for him, it was no big deal. We both grew up very comfortable in the western parts of Lagos. So it wasn't for us, it wasn't even an issue at all that this was going to be. My dad never discussed it with me until I said I was going to get married.
Like after that,
they just knew that there was one girl from here. Okay, that's Frank's friend. That's what they used to call her, Frank's friend. And Frank's friend.
I mean, he was bringing plenty friends, right?
They only knew one friend. I said Frank's friend. Everybody was comfortable. But I don't know how my dad didn't figure it out. And he never asked me anything. At least not that I recall. Because I remember I was in South Africa in 2011 working there. And I was there around the time of my birthday in 2011. And Funke went to the house with cake in my absence and did a video call with me and all of that. So at that point, they should have...
Single girls.
Yeah. You know? At that point, you should have figured that this girl that is bringing cake on our son's birthday,
In
celebration, doing video call with me from South Africa, you know, there must have been something to, but nobody ever said anything. I kind of assumed that everybody knew what was going on and was. But my dad, and again, my dad had absolutely no problem with Funke. I think he loved her. The only thing was, we are 3 boys in my family, and the 3 of us at the time, none of us was involved in Igbo girl anyway. So my dad was like, you know what? Your eldest brother is married to a white lady. Your immediate older brother is dating a Yoruba girl. You yourself are about to marry a Yoruba girl. And he said, no. Now, one person, please, has to marry that. Otherwise, what will happen to our house in the village? It means that your children will never go home. We will not know where we are from. Blah, blah. I'm like, okay, daddy. I get it. Unfortunately, you're saying this thing too late. At least to me. Because at this point, I already told him that I'm getting married October of next year. I believe I was saying this thing to him in December of 2012. And I was saying I'll get married October of next year. So he was saying it's a bit too late. And I said to him, I remember categorically saying to him that, daddy, unless I get to the altar and God says to me, this is not your wife, I'm going to marry this girl.
Aww.
And at that point, he knew that he kind of knows me as well, that when my mind is made up, it's made up. And so he knew that it was, and
especially because it was not like there was any other thing. It was just the tribe issue, and
yes,
I feel like we had also come to the place where we had prayed, you know, a lot about it. We both knew what we wanted in our life from a life partner. We both knew that we ticked those boxes for each other. We had really grown together. I remember you always used to like talk about us going for, because I used to go to David's Christian Center. Most of you would know Pastor Kingsley, Love, Dating and Marriage. And
amazing. If that session still goes on, and I hope they still do it,
they do.
I highly recommend every single or dating couple out there to please attend those.
It's even easier now because they are
online as well, right?
Amazing. I mean, there are others as well. It's not just because that
was the one.
So I feel like we were already really grounded in that sense. Like we knew what we wanted. We had seen the future, you know, so to speak. I would say that one other thing that helped as well, particularly for people looking to go into intertribal marriages or even any marriage really, is to be sure that no matter how much you are so into each other or so enthralled with each other, you also take time to listen to counsel as well. So if it was a situation, for instance, where I thought, you know, Frank was you know, the best in sliced bread, and other people were telling me, look, this guy does this or is that, it would have been a different situation, right? But that wasn't the case at all.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, sometimes there's this foolish childish behavior that we could have where we say, I don't care about what anybody says. It's good not to care about what anybody says, but there's a balance to it. You have to be reasonable as well. So usually in marriages, there's some things that drive some differences. Tribe is one of them. You know, we can divide ourselves. Sometimes there are other differences you find. What I find that makes sense is, outside of those differences, is this person a really good human? And those differences, are they critical enough for us to stay apart? If they are, and I've seen situations where they are and people decide to go their separate ways, if they are, then that's fine. But it would be such a painful thing where you decide not to go ahead with someone you know is the person for you, just for the sake of some very minor differences. You know, once you guys accept each other, selling yourself to your parents is one of the not easiest, but that should be the next assignment to do. Depending on who your parents are, some parents are more difficult than others. Luckily for us, our parents were easy. I know I'd mentioned earlier how my dad said one of us was marry an Igbo person. He wasn't saying to me, break up with your girlfriend. No. What he was saying is that somebody has to. Thankfully for us, my older brother got married to an Igbo lady.
God made a way.
Yes. And she's an absolutely darling sister of mine. So, so that worked out pretty well. And right now, Funke and my dad, they keep going back and forth in terms of language speaking and all of that.
Is it Funaya, baby? That's my name, by the way.
Her Igbo name is Ifunaya. She was given Ifunaya by my dad. Right? On our wedding day. Yes, he was given the name Ifunaya on our wedding day. And it's been beautiful. But I also wanted to mention one thing, and I'm struggling to remember what that thing is, but it was such a critical thing for me to mention when I was thinking about it. But anyway, hopefully I remember it some other time, and I do mention it. But it's important that we carry everybody along. it's important that we carry parents along, and the blessings of parents in marriage is extremely important. Yes, I remember. So I was going to add that it's very important that when you are trying to sell yourself to parents, it's always advisable, in my own experience, that if there are touchy subjects, let the child of the parents be the one doing the talking. So I don't want to be the one going to talk to Funke's parents, and Funke should be the one talking to my parents. Do not put your other person forward. You do the talking to your parents on behalf of your partner. Because trust me, there are so many things that your parents will take from you, and it will land differently, and they'll be more expressive of themselves when they're talking to you versus when they're talking to your partner, regardless of how close they are, particularly before you guys get to that stage of marriage. And for me, that helped. I remember one of the topics that we had shortly before marriage was I was telling Funke's parents after I went to meet them and said, by the way, I took some gifts. I went to them and I said, I'm thinking about, or Funke and I have been friends for so long. I told them I wanted to see them. So I'm sure when I said I wanted to see them, they already knew what this conversation was likely to be about. I said, we want to take this thing to the next level. I love your daughter, and I'm certain that she's the one for me. I'm convinced by God that this is my wife. And then we started talking about, we kind of got into the idea of, okay, what would the wedding reception and wedding planning be like? So my own ideal is, I don't mind a very small, intimate wedding of 50 people in a small restaurant. Funke's mom laughed me off my chair.
The same way I'm laughing now.
So like 50
It's
people
too funny
there.
today,
As in, that's my family alone, Zeb, are not even 50 people. We can't cater for them. Not talk of your own family and other friends and stuff like that. Needless to say, we ended up with 800 people.
More.
At least that was on paper, so the actual number would have been more than that. But those are some of the things where it would have been foolish for me to confront Funke's parents on that. So whatever pushback we had, it was always coming from Funke towards them. And from my end, whatever pushback we had was me having conversations with my parents, not the other way. It just helps for an easier conversation.
And choose your battles too.
Yes, choose your battles. I had a battle with wedding dates. I wanted to get, so my birthday is on 2nd of October. I wanted to get married on the 1st of October, which in Nigeria is a public holiday. But my dad said, no, that is not going to happen. That 1st of October, he's a businessman. Some of his business friends will not be available on that day. It's a public holiday, but they still do business and all of that.
And apart from that, too, with Nigeria, you can never really, bank on things like that. What if?
No, it's always going to be a public holiday.
Well, would it be a calm public?
Well, they never write. Everyone just stays home. I thought it was a good day. I'd gotten Funke's dad's consent on it, but my dad said no, so we ended up moving it out till the 10th and 12th for our trad and our wedding, white wedding. Anyway, guys, so that's our story of how we met. It's been a beautiful journey so far.
It has.
Friends for 8, dated for 5, married for 10 and counting. Wow.
It feels like yesterday.
It feels like yesterday, actually. Because when I think about our story, it's been, there's been some bumps on the road, but largely it's been, every bump has been made easy because, and babe, let's talk about communication. Communication is very key. The fact that both of us can always talk about things, there's a common understanding. It always helps. In everything you shut out in any relationship, and I say this not even to people that are married right now, but people that are even dating, and this is serious dating, please keep communication open. No matter what you do, communication, keep it open. Do all your prayer by the side, do everything you need to do by the side, but that communication, it's very important that you keep it open. The moment you stop listening to the other person, or you stop talking, it's every other thing goes south from there. Yeah. So I think this is a good place to wrap up. If there are any other questions you have, maybe we'll do a sequel to this. We are happy to share more stories. Tempted to just mention this, but we will talk about it at a later time. So you remember how I said that from Funke's, when we started dating, when we were friends and we started dating, I couldn't tell the difference. When we got married, there was a bit of difference, because when you get married, for us there was an additional benefit. That's when we started enjoying the additional benefits of being married. If you know, you know. But you see, the point I want to make is that benefit did not come.
It does not come easy for everybody.
Exactly. I thought I was going to get that benefit hot. It didn't come like that. I patiently waited. And, anyway, we'll talk about that at a later time. But it was something. But our first year of marriage, quite honestly, babe, for me, I just felt good. It felt like I was living in the house with my best friend. We had some conversations that were tough, but it was beautiful. It was, when people talk about first year of marriage being the toughest year, that wasn't the case for us. Quite honestly, wasn't the case for us. But more to come. We can't say everything in one go. We'll tell you guys more about our story, but please feel free to ask your questions and make your comments. But until then, it is bye for now.
Yeah.
But before we go, please like, comment, share,
and subscribe.
All right, bye.
See you in the next one.
Bye.